two sisters and my mother, Haley Fox. We were going door to door, like you do. I don't know why I just said that, but you do that. We were going door to door, and we went into this one door, and the guy popped out and screamed in our faces, and I ran. I did not stop running. I just ran, and I ran home, and they couldn't catch up to me, and I was just screaming. I threw the dog. I know I'm evil, but I threw the dog because I was so scared, and I couldn't hold on to the dog, so I ran. And the guy was apologizing so much to my mother. He was like, "I'm so sorry for scaring her." I was so scared. I was a scaredy cat. And when we went to this like haunted house fair thing, and they had this trailer kind of thing where you like walk through, and it's like a haunted house, but it was kind of small. But I was so terrified to go in there. I like as soon as they opened up the door, I just turned around and ran, and I was screaming, yelling that there was a dead body on the floor. And when Haley went to go look, there was nothing there. I was just being scared and a wimp, and I don't understand why I was such a wimp back then. And yeah, I had a really fun life. I remember all Halloweens. I remember always going trick-or-treating every single Halloween. And I was also obsessed with princesses, because what little girl isn't obsessed with princesses? And, I was always a princess for Halloween. Or Dorothy. I don't know if you consider Dorothy a princess. I don't know. I wonder. But I remember all the Halloweens because they had this big church, and outside the church was this giant setup. Like, they had outdoor movie theaters. They would always play VeggieTales. Every single Halloween, they had VeggieTales. And they would have these giant clowns with those, fake legs. It was super tall. I was terrified of them also. I was scared of everything. But they always had hot cocoa and popcorn and candy. Of course, there's candy. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I remember the Easters running around in my little tutu with a giant Easter basket and hunting for Easter eggs. And yeah, we had a really good life. Even though our mother left us, we put the past behind us, and we continued on with our life, and we improved it. So, after a while, my oldest sister, she went to the military, and my middle sister, she stayed with us, of course, because she wasn't old enough to leave yet. But I ended up having a nephew. So, yeah, I had a very fun life, and most of our encounters, I remember being outside with all my best friends, and we were watching the 4th of July. There was I think there was about 20 people over at our house. And we didn't even intend for it. I just invited my friends, but then their friends invited their friends. And it just kept going in a giant chain. And we ended up having all these children at our house running around in our backyard. And we set off all these fireworks. The fireworks show was amazing. Now, this is back in Pennsylvania, where we had a giant field behind our house. And we had a very big property, so we were able to set off fireworks and not damage anybody else's property, luckily. And yeah, that was back in Pennsylvania. Back in Pennsylvania, we had a lot of strange encounters, because that's where I've lived all the way up until I turned 15. So we've only actually been here in Las Vegas for about a year. But up until then, we were in Pennsylvania. Well, not my stepmom, because my stepmom was actually from here, but she moved, and when she moved, she ended up adopting us, and she didn't want to take us here yet because we were so young, and she didn't want to put us in the bad situation because hello, Sin City. But now that we're all older, she moved back, and she's growing her business really well. So, anyways, back in Pennsylvania, I remember when my youngest brother was his graduation. He was graduating from kindergarten. Like they graduate from kindergarten now, because that's a really big accomplishment apparently. So, anyways, he was graduating from kindergarten, and this tornado formed in our backyard, and it was just whipping up bushes and everything, and it was just scary. I was down. At the time we had Mershu, Stinky, Bruiser, and Sadie. We had 4 dogs and 2 cats, and I think we had 2 birds at the time. I think we had 2 lovebirds, and we were all in the basement, and we were so scared. I had every single stuffed animal in the entire house surrounding me. I was so scared, and my brothers were trying to calm me down, and my sister was trying to calm me down, and we had to get to his graduation because it was graduation night, but there was a tornado in our backyard, and we couldn't leave the house. So we tried waiting it out, but we were gonna be late, and we didn't want to be late. And here comes Kitty. Look, Kitty crossing over. Hi, Kitty. We didn't want to be late, so we went for it. My oldest brother walked outside, and as soon as he took a step outside, the storm cleared up like that. Like it was some kind of magic. The entire storm just cleared up, and we were able to make it to the graduation. It was still a lot of heavy rainfall and winds, but the tornado was no longer there. And we made it to his graduation, and they were singing on stage, and he was just so happy when he graduated with all of his friends. It was a really happy day. But the next day after his graduation, like I said, we had 2 cats, and at the time, the cats would sometimes venture outside, and we'd let them because, they'd always come back to us. So we'd let them go outside, but our neighbor did not like that. So one time, after the storm, the neighbor comes over, and she's just screaming at my mother. She's just screaming at her, yelling at her, saying that the cat destroyed her house, ripped shingles off of her roof. And we were like, how did our cats get on your roof and rip it apart? And she was like trying to make us believe that we had super cats who could jump on a trampoline, bounce on a trampoline, and bounce all the way on top of her roof and rip off shingles. And it was so funny because the storm just happened. And we were like, it's the storm. It was not our cats. And she was so angry at our cats. So we couldn't handle the cats anymore. So we ended up putting the cats outside so they could be outdoor cats. They could still stick around our property. But our cat went missing. And I was playing with a little girl once. The little girl was like 3 years old, and I was playing with her. And she was just like, my mommy took your cat. And I was like, what? She took our cat? And she's like, yeah, she got rid of her. And I was so upset because those are like my favorite cats, except for this cat. This cat's awesome. But my cat's staring up the wall. Their names were Snowball and Gizmo. And at the time we also had a lot of stray cats. A lot. We had, and of course, me and my brothers were little, and we had to name every single animal we ever saw. So we named every single stray cat. I remember Oreo, I remember Brownie, I remember all those. And yes, we had to use food names, because food names actually do work really well with animals. They do. Like Coco or Oreo, they work well, or Brownie, or they work well. And so yeah, and then we moved to York, PA, well, Jacobus, PA, actually. So we went from Dallas and Greencastle, and then we went to York, PA, and at York we had this big property, and we finally had our own pool. We had our own pool. Now, the pool was always green because we had a lot of problems with the pool, but it was a green pool. But you know what? It was a pool. It's no different from swimming in a lake, really, if you think about it. Like, if your pool's green, yippee-doo-dah, it's a lake. It's basically a lake. And me and my brother would always go swimming in it. And, like, we kept it clean as much as we could, but it was so hard because the plumbing that was under the pool was broken. And, you know, we'd have to rip out the entire pool to fix it. And we couldn't because we weren't going to stay there at that place for that long. So we ended up just suffering with it. We spent so much money on keeping that pool clean with all the chlorine tablets and constantly having to fix the skimmers, and we had to keep shocking the pool. We shocked the pool like 4 times a week just to keep it blue, and it wasn't even that blue. We just had to keep it a little blue so it wasn't so inhuman to swim in. And yeah, at that house, I believe I had my own tree because we had this ginormous tree in our backyard, and I claimed that tree. That tree was my favorite tree ever, because it was so easy to climb, and you could go so high up because it had branches from the bottom, and it would just spiral all the way up, and you know, you could just get up there so easily, and I'd constantly just sit up there and listen to music, and I could see the fire station, I could see everything. Plus, we had a huge patch of woods behind us, and my brothers and I always loved venturing in the woods. I got lost once, but that was my fault. I thought I was taking a shortcut, and I got lost in the woods. I was terrified. Of course I was terrified. And when I got lost in the woods, I found myself in like this big old patch of thorns, and all around me were like these little footprints of like a dog, which were actually coyotes. It turned out they were actually coyotes, like all in those woods, and there was all these paw prints around me, and I was freaking out, and I was calling for my brothers, and my brothers said that they heard me, but they ignored me. Now, they ignored me because they warned me not to go on the shortcut, but I did it anyway. So they were ignoring me to make me suffer and be scared for not listening to them, which is okay. I forgive them for completely ignoring me, and I was completely lost. And by the time I got out of the woods, I was scratched up really bad. That I just had tons of tiny cuts all over my arms because I was a retard and I didn't wear long sleeves. Yeah, I know. But we had a lot of fun, and my sister, she spent 4 years in the military, but she came back, and she has another child now, and she's happy right now. And my other sister is back still in Pennsylvania, and so is my oldest brother. They're still back in Pennsylvania right now. So, yeah. I think that's about it for now. I will be making another video shortly, I'm sure. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And don't forget to subscribe to my page, my mom's page, Haley Fox's blog, and she has my TC Temptations, and she has a bunch of other ones. I can never remember these, ever. But she has a bunch of other ones, and we do collaborations sometimes. Like, we did a workout video together, and, you know, sometimes she'll post me eating her food, like the stuff that she makes on my Tasty Temptations. She'll post me eating it, or stuff like that, and, yeah, so don't forget to subscribe, and, also visit, Isabella Styles fashion blog, and, I have clothes on there, so if you guys ever, like my outfits, you could probably just go on there and buy it. Plus, I have tons of other clothes that I don't even have, that I want, but I don't have. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.